are at the Austin International Airport. We have finally made it. We had to move mountains and walk on water to get here. But we're here. Italo, Dr. Armando, Carlos. Woo! Woo!
How are you?
Wow.
Hi, you guys. How are you?
Eu estou muito bem, muito feliz de estar aqui. Pode falar?
I'm very well, very happy to be here.
And give her the mic too. Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. So, how are you feeling now that the press conference is over?
Como você está se sentindo agora que a conferência terminou?
Que deu para falar um pouco, não dá para falar tudo, porque as pessoas vão falar que a gente é doido, né?
That he was able to say a little bit, that he's not able to say everything, otherwise people are going to think he's crazy.
I promise I will not think you are crazy. Give me the goods.
Pode falar as coisas boas para ela.
Yes, well, we are blunt and bold and very interested, I can promise you that.
A gente é bem assertivo no que a gente está interessado.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions for you. The first question is, I'm very curious as to who brought these beings to the hospital if they were not in a military capacity or an officer captivity. How did they get taken to the hospital in the first place?
Ela tem curiosidade de saber como que esses seres foram parar no hospital em primeiro lugar.
Eu não sei como chegaram.
He doesn't know how they got there.
Quando eu fui chamado para ver,
When he was called to see it in the room,
ele já estava lá.
it was already there.
E eu vi tudo aquilo, explica para ela, e eu estava interessado numa outra criança grave.
And when he got into the room, his mind was with this other child that he had performed surgery on earlier. So he was really wanting to check on this other child. So his time with the being was limited.
Ele estava bem, estava tudo certo, não precisava de mim.
That being was all right and it didn't need him. So he had to go over to attend to the other child.
Não vi militares.
He didn't see military personnel at that time.
Did you perform any kind of medical technique at all on this being, like a physical or check for breathing or a heart monitor?
Você fez algum tipo de check-up nesse ser, de alguma maneira?
Não, só com o costume médico mesmo, né? Não havia nenhum tipo de monitor, mas a gente está treinado a fazer todo um check-out.
He's very trained as a doctor to do a visual assessment of what was going on. There was no monitor, like monitoring this being's like vitals or anything. So all of his interaction was assessing the being visually. It's called the Glasgow scale.
Glasgow scale. The eyes, olhos,
The eyes,
respiração,
the breathing,
deglutição,
how it's swallowing,
movimentação,
the movements,
orientação.
orientation.
Foi uma escala.
And so he
Chama
went on that
ectoscopia.
checklist. It's called ectoscopy.
So you had no physical contact with the being. Do you know?
Então você não teve contato físico?
Não, manual não, de tocar, não.
No touching.
And do you know how that being got into the room? Was it someone on your team? Did they have physical contact with the being to bring them in there?
Como é que o ser acabou na sala? Se alguma outra pessoa teve contato físico?
Aquele médico, quando eu cheguei, aquele médico teve. O Marcos Vinícius teve.
The doctor that brought him into the room, that doctor had physical contact. Unfortunately, he passed away already.
Possivelmente fez um curativo, né?
He potentially stitched up this being's head.
And no harm came to him because we know the 23-year-old Brazilian officer who died had received a scratch. So that could potentially receive a scratch. So that would be the difference here.
Não teve nenhum mal que foi causado ao médico como o do soldado que morreu.
Não. O médico morreu de outras coisas. Ele fala.
Yeah, no, this other doctor who operated, he's no longer with us because he had a different lifestyle. He smoked a lot, so he left of a heart attack, but he died of natural causes and not because of the being.
Não foi pelo contato, porque inclusive ele estava de luva. Né?
And he had gloves and stuff, so I guess at the hospital there was more care around handling the being.
Gorro, máscara.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That was my question, like gloves, not bare hands, mask, etc. Okay, I would love to talk to you about the feeling of the being, because you said that you felt when you were in the room that the being was the elder and you were the child. Can you describe that to me a little bit?
Pelo olhar.
Through the eyesight and gaze.
Olhar mais compreensivo, olhar que olhava inteirinho a gente. Que nem quando você está falando com uma criança, a criança está olhando para lá, está brincando e está falando, eu vou brincar de casinha. E o ser está entendendo tudo o que está acontecendo. O ser sabe onde eu moro, onde eu estou, que cidade eu estou. A criança sabe aquela brincadeira ali.
So the being was more like an elder. When you're talking to a child, the child's attention goes everywhere and goes play over here, over there. And this was the gaze of an elder that was fully aware of where it was, what was happening, and that focused attention of an elder.
So it almost had seemed like he had studied humans and just kind of said, now here I am. He didn't seem surprised, like, oh my gosh, they got me.
Parece que esse ser já teria possivelmente estudado os humanos, que ele não estava surpreso assim, ai meu Deus, me pegaram, não, porque ele já tinha o conhecimento.
Sabia. Com certeza absoluta, sabia onde estava, o que estava acontecendo e provavelmente o que ia acontecer.
Absolutely sure that this being knew where it was, knew what was happening, and possibly knew what was about to happen after.
Não existia esse nosso tempo lógico. Esse tempo do relógio.
There was no logical time, like the time you see on the clock.
É um tempo diferente. Ele olhava para mim assim, como se ele estivesse olhando para mim há horas.
It was a different type of time, as in the being was looking at him as if it had been looking at him for hours.
Olhando assim que nem eu estou olhando para a senhora, mas ele parece que o tempo ali fez assim, ó.
Just like I am looking at you right now, but at that moment, time stretched.
Dá tempo para entender. Não é aquele tempo dos segundos, é um outro tipo de tempo.
So you have enough time to understand. It's not time ticking on the seconds. It's a different type of time where everything can be understood.
Parece que alarga o tempo.
It's like an enlargement of time.
Entra no tempo. Faz o tempo parar, daí ele observa tudo. Depois o tempo segue.
It's like it gets inside of time. Time stops, you get in, you understand everything, and then time goes on.
That's incredible. I'm going to just ask you one more question about your family. Has this taken a toll on your family, your wife, your children? Oh, is this your wife?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question? You know, this has been one of the biggest things on my mind. So one of the biggest things on my mind is people, believing this. On our show, we have whistleblowers coming forward and accounts and people emailing us every day about different things that they've seen.
Uma das preocupações dela é das pessoas acreditarem nisso. Eles, no canal deles, eles cobrem pessoas que são do governo, que vêm falar de coisas cobertas. Então é essa coisa da credibilidade.
So, if you are not telling the truth, the facade that you put out in the public after 30 years has to come down sometime.
Então, em algum momento, se em 30 anos, se isso fosse mentira, a fachada da mentira, em algum momento, ia ter que cair, né?
So you are home with him every day for 30 years.
Então, você está em casa com ele,
For 23 years.
Então, faz 23 anos que você divide casa com ele.
Okay, you've been married for 23 years. What is it like with him at home outside of the public arena of coming forward with this case?
Como é que é Isso muda alguma coisa para você crer como é que é
Para mim não muda nada. Nada. Assim, em casa não.
Nothing changes in the home space. To her, it's all the same. It doesn't change.
Continuamos a viver da mesma maneira que antes, né?
They continue to live in the same way that they've lived before.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you. I appreciate you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, miss.
You guys.
And what's your thoughts on the whole situation?
I thought it was really powerful too. I mean, I've been spending some time in the last few days with the witnesses and the crew putting this on, and they've done an incredible job. It really was a lot of hard work.
Yes.
And the witnesses are absolutely beautiful, sincere, honest people, as are the others that we saw, like in the video. So I think it's a really important case.
Yeah.
I'm really glad it's getting this exposure, and I hope that members of Congress or anyone else who can help get more access to information, to the photographs, the videos, the flight logs, any other documentation, medical records, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The next step is kind of like we've got to get the hard data on the case, because we've got
That's
all
what
the
everyone's saying.
James has all the witnesses,
Yeah.
and that's always the problem, because the data is sequestered away and held by the authorities, just like it is here.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very difficult to get, but I think now we're sort of, more people are being mobilized, like members of Congress here. We've got the Brazilian senator who wants to work in cooperation with members here. So maybe it will be able to get our hands on some more documentation. I think that's what the hope is. Yeah.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
And a couple of things. First of all, kudos to James for getting this event.
Absolutely.
And giving it to everyone for free. First of all,
James is
and I
amazing,
thought that
yeah.
was really
Really
nice,
great,
and all the expense he paid out to get these people here.
And the
it was,
people who helped put this on, like Camille, who is in
Yes.
the there are people
Right.
that put financial resources into this to
Yes.
make it happen.
Yes,
So.
and but also thanks to him that this case didn't just die, because I know Roger Lear, Dr. Lear, took a look at it years ago. I know other people had along the way, but it kind of like almost went away, and one of these things that could have just gone away. And one of the things I think is really incredible about this case that seems to happen a lot, and just wanted to get your opinion on it, is how does the U.S. show up all of a sudden, in the next couple of days right after an event like this? It's such a puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but in some ways it isn't, because, the United States has that kind of power, I think, to be able to do that. They're
Right.
very aggressive about being in control of this topic.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, in some ways it's surprising, in other ways it's not. But apparently, there may not be any, the gentleman who was talking about the paper trail, there may not be one, as somebody else pointed out, because apparently what the people on the ground have said who are at the airport was that this flight was not scheduled to land, and so I think they got word there was a flight coming in, and the people at the airport were saying, well, wait a minute, there's not in the flight logs, we don't know what's going on, and apparently there was a general who came in and told them to let the plane through.
Wow.
And so, it all may have happened just through high channels without following the normal protocols for what's involved in bringing a plane in and out of Brazil. So obviously high levels of Brazilians were in coordination with high levels of Americans and I don't know why the Brazilians would turn it over to the Americans. Who knows what kind of pressure was put on them?
Yeah, it was a power play.
Whether they wanted to or not. I mean, we don't know anything about that. We just know that it did happen, and that most likely somewhere in the United States that data and evidence resides.
Yeah. This is a weird thing to say, perhaps, but this is a case where I felt really bad for whatever the being was.
Oh, yeah.
Because it seemed like it was scared and it wanted to be safe. And who knows, when they say they came into the hospital and took it away, what happened to it after that.
Oh, I know. I'm sure Dr. Idolo thinks about that all the time.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It's very sad.
And another thing about his testimony, you can't fake the emotion. I mean, that emotion was real.
Oh,
and I'm glad he seems like a real nice gentleman that he came out and
came
it
all
all
the
on
way
the
up
line.
here. He's not in great health. It was
Yeah.
really hard for him to come here.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do it, and he did it. So, yeah,
Right.
he's got a big heart.
Yes,
As well as
can
being
tell.
at top of the medical field. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Leslie. It's always a pleasure seeing you,
Good
talking
to see you, Martin.
And I always bring you up as one of the people that actually moved the dial on this subject.
thank you very
back
much.
in 2017. Can you believe how many years ago that was now?
I know, we're approaching one more year. We've got the anniversary coming up. 10th
something.
anniversary, right? 10th
That's right.
anniversary.
It's so hard to
It
believe.
really went by fast.
And there's a before and after. First of all, I want to thank you so much for your great testimony. Thank you.
Ele quer agradecer o seu testemunho.
Okay, thank you.
I was streaming live here today, and someone asked me to ask you if there was any x-rays or anything done with the being that you're aware of.
Pediram para ele perguntar que ele estava, né, broadcasting e perguntaram se existe algum raio-x, alguma coisa que você tem no seu conhecimento que foi feito.
Existe um relato de técnico de raio-x
There is an X-ray technician that has shared something.
que levaram uma caixa fechada.
That it was brought to him a closed, sealed box,
Ele teve que bater o raio-x e nem ver o filme revelado.
and he had to take the X-ray and not even be able to look at the results because it was taken immediately.
Essa pessoa, esse técnico de raio-x, ele teve que mudar a voz e não mostrar o rosto.
This technician is shown in James Fox's film, and he only agreed to come on camera with his voice and
Right.
his identity completely anonymous.
Yeah. One of the things I share emotionally is I really felt bad for the being just because it seemed like it wanted to go home or be taken care of. And it's really upsetting to think that it was just taken away a few days later. So the question is, how did he find out that the being was taken, and was it possibly taken by the U.S. government?
Para ele é muito ruim pensar que esse ser, né, queria se liberar, queria ir para casa, mas não, e que se o senhor tem conhecimento de quem veio buscar esse ser, como é que ele saiu do hospital?
Infelizmente eu não sei responder.
Unfortunately, I don't know how to
Quando eu
answer that.
cheguei, ele já estava
When
lá.
I arrived there, the being was already there.
Eu examinei,
I examined the being,
vi que ele estava muito bem
saw the being was well,
e saí. Eu não sei
and
o que
left.
levou.
So he's not sure what happened before or after. That's all he knows of the story.
Yeah. And someone also asked, and I don't know if anyone asked this question, do you ever have dreams or nightmares about this whole situation?
E você tem sonhos ou pesadelos sobre essa situação?
Eu tenho sonhos como se eu tivesse que voltar para examiná-lo.
He has dreams where he has the feeling that he needs to go back to see if the being is okay. Go back into that room.
Essa noite eu pensei assim, vamos ver como é que está o potássio dele.
Like this last night, he dreamed about this being's potassium levels. He was like, I need to go back there to check his potassium levels. He just dreamed that last night.
Last night?
Last night.
Last
Yes.
night, quer dizer,
Wow.
pensamento doido, né?
Yeah, crazy thinking, but yeah, that's what he dreamed about last night.
Well, I can tell he's a very good man.
Dá pra ver que o senhor é
And,
ótimo
obrigado.
homem.
and I really, really appreciate very much.
Obrigado.
Ele realmente mereceu
And
você.
I hope your health gets well. I hope you stay
Ele
well.
espera que a sua saúde continue boa e sempre melhorando.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you very
Thanks so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, James, first question's a pretty obvious one. How are you feeling now that it's over? You guys prepared for decades and then for hours and hours into the night. How are you feeling now?
I would say if I was Brazilian, I would say muito melhor, much better. At some point, I'll come out with just how complicated and how difficult it was to put this event on, because I was dealing with so many things that were outside of my control, and it's already hard enough when you have committed people to participate. But when you have people that can't get the visas, or they have to find people to replace them at work, particularly a neurosurgeon, there were so many things that were going sideways. I at one point, for a 24-hour period, I couldn't even look at my phone, because if I have one more piece of bad news, my heart's going to stop.
Well, just from a personal aspect, I think you did an absolutely fantastic job, and you were extremely responsive and so amazing and generous with your time and the access that you've given us to this event before, during, and now after. So you should be very proud of that.
I think I'm going to thank you, by the way. I appreciate that very much. And we're in this together. Absolutely. We're all in this together. And it's one of the things I really appreciate about News Nation.
So I did grab Rep. Burleson in the short break that we took. I ran over and I grabbed him and I asked him his feelings on the press conference so far. And what he said to me is, we still need hard evidence. He wants to see hard evidence. I can't tell you how many times we hear that in the comments from the viewers, from the trolls on the internet to the actual fans of the phenomena. What is the likelihood of that happening if the government has hard evidence in their hands and we can't even get them to do disclosure, the UAP Disclosure Act or the Whistleblowers Protection Act? How do you get hard evidence? Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly frustrating for me as well, right? But I will remind the audience that it's hard to go after something if you don't know it exists. So bringing this case to the light of certain members of Congress, let's see if we can track down that flight, right? We know that a plane probably came in with high likelihood, came into Campinas on or around the 20th of January, 1996. And that's one of the reasons why I had Colonel Clausen present. He was like, hey, you know what? There's going to be paper trails. There's probably 30 or 40 people that are on that flight. Let's go after it. Encourage other people to come forward. Just seeing the courage of Dr. Italo, who's a sitting, neurosurgeon, that should be infectious. We have the 30th anniversary of the case today. Maybe there are more people there that are encouraged to see power in numbers. So I feel the frustration. I want the evidence. Who doesn't want the evidence? But you have to go after it. You fail 100% of the time, you don't try. So all we can do is try, right? And the evidence that you have brought forward is very hard to refute. Yeah. So we thank you for working so hard on this and bringing this to light, and we also thank you for all of your time. Oh, I appreciate it so much. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, a fascinating story that we're keeping a close eye on today. A Hollywood filmmaker has spent his career producing documentaries on the unknown. Take a look.
Call it another Roswell, if you will. That is a crashed vehicle that had beings on board.
Now, one case in particular that James Fox is highlighting is the 1996 Varginha, Brazil case. Residents there claim that they saw strange beings. Authorities allegedly captured one, and the woman says she was impregnated by an extraterrestrial. Now, James Fox is heading to our nation's capital, hosting a UAP meeting where he will present new evidence about extraterrestrial life. News Nation will be in attendance for the UAP press conference, and editorial producer for Reality Check with Ross Coulthard, Megan Medic, will be there. She joins me now. Megan, it's so good to be on with you ahead of today. This is a big deal, right? Because this isn't a congressional hearing where lawmakers and witnesses are in the hot seat. This is born out of a, decorated filmmaker's desire for more answers. What are you expecting from this?
Marky, I actually got to attend the rehearsal for this press conference last night. I got to see these witnesses get up and practice their testimony. And what I can tell you is that it was extremely emotional. These guys, this is 30 years. This is a really long time that they've lived with, some of them a secret, some of them, wanting to be believed. So really the goal for today is to get attention from lawmakers. Say, hey, this is actually happening. This is a true story. And we are living proof with multiple witnesses who really have no relation to each other. You have a man who was at the crash site. You have multiple witnesses that saw the crash. You have three sisters who encountered a being, and you have a neurosurgeon who says he walked in to do his job, and what he saw lying on the table was not human. So the testimonies are just really unbelievable to hear.
Yeah, and I was reading there's two parts to this. One is Brazil. The next part is called, America, just what we've seen over the past couple years, that you've been following every step of the way. I understand, too, you also talked to some families this week ahead of today's hearing or event, if you want to call it that. What are they hoping for?
Well, in attendance today are the families of the people who are testifying, but also people who have had encounters themselves in the area. The main goal is to be heard and to be believed, but also they do want whistleblower protection acts, but ultimately they want disclosure from the government. The main question that I'm receiving from fans of Reality Check and people who have followed this case closely is they want to know what the U.S. involvement in this specific case is. There are many testimonies that say that in days of this encounter, the U.S. came in and they left with crash debris and non-human bodies, one possibly still alive. So they want to know, was the U.S. really involved? And if they were, where are they hiding this potentially life-changing evidence?
Yeah, we need more transparency and answers around it. I know that Ross interviewed James Fox for his show Reality Check, and he emphasized how vital this meeting is, even comparing it to Stephen Greer's disclosure meeting from 2001. Do you think that today's meeting might push the UAP conversation forward and keep it in the spotlight?
You know, I really hope it does, because there is something different about today's hearing that we have not seen before. Today, we're going to be hearing testimony of the first ever firsthand witness of biologics. And when I say that, what I mean is that we have a neurosurgeon testifying. Unfortunately, a young man died in this case. He was a Brazilian officer who allegedly touched the being and was scratched. And from that scratch, he received an infection, and that infection ultimately killed him. So we're going to be hearing from the man who performed the autopsy and studied this tissue. And he puts his hand on the Bible and he says, the bacteria that caused this infection is not from this planet. And there were no antibiotics 30 years ago to treat this, and there are no antibiotics today that could treat this because it is not human. So that's what makes this case different today from any other times we've heard people testifying on Capitol Hill. So hopefully that can move the needle forward.
Yeah. Well, I know that you will be at the press club hearing all the evidence and listening. Keep us posted and we'll check back in to see what comes of it. Megan Medic, always good to see you. Thank you so much.